Good morning. I'm Anna Marie de la Vega. Thank you for joining us today. This is Focus. Today, we're talking with financial advisor Paris Jackson, and we've got a whole variety of topics to talk about. First of all, welcome.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for having me.
But first of all, financial advisor, I want you to tell people what that is, because I think a lot of us are like, well, with the little amount of money I have, why would I need a financial advisor to tell me what to do with my non-existent money?
Well, the good thing about a financial advisor, Anna, is that we can help you find that non-existent money. We can help you repurpose some things by looking at your budget. And then we can turn that repurposing into your financial future to ensure you can retire, transfer legacy, and do the things that you want to do and live while you have life and not just, be making it paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. So one of the things that I would like to talk to you about today, I just got a press release and it says economic disparities like the racial wealth gap are deeply entrenched in our society. In Nashville, it says the median wealth of Black households is 57% of white households. What can we do about that? What's going on there? And what can we do about that?
So historically, African Americans and, other races have faced systematic barriers such as limited access to credit and discriminatory housing policies.
Like what? What are those? I'm going to interrupt you all the time and ask you what that is.
So, sometimes we were not able to go to the bank and achieve a line of credit or get approval for a loan to obtain, owning a home. Owning a home is one of the best features in the United States of America because it equates to value. Owning property, owning land, something that builds equity that you can transfer to the next generation is very, very powerful.
What are the barriers there?
So just access to credit, having the understanding of how money works. How do you go to the bank and approve a loan? How does your credit score actually impact the ability to achieve that loan? And then what do you then go do? How much house can I buy? How much land can I own? And what are the parameters to understand what I can do with that land for the future of my family?
And we don't teach this in school.
We do not. And
probably should. And then people also sometimes don't learn it at home. I didn't learn anything about that at home.
Yeah, neither did I.
Right?
Yeah.
So where would we find that out until we realize, okay, I do want to do something better than living paycheck to paycheck. So I might need a financial advisor, or at least some advice from a financial advisor.
In today's society, you can get that information on the internet, but that information is generally generic to a large group of people.
Yeah.
And so the benefit of a financial advisor is to say, hey, where am I now? What goals am I trying to achieve, not just for myself, but for my family as well? And what's the roadmap in between? And that roadmap is not just how to get from point A to point B, but what are the tax efficient strategies to make sure that I'm maximizing my income? At what point do I pivot if, I'm doing something really, really well in 2024, but a new goal has come up, I get married, I have a baby. How do I change that financial strategy and still stay on track to meet my end state of, maybe retirement or transferring wealth?
I think a lot of us don't have any kind of a financial goal. We're just like, I'm just making it day to day. Oh, and I put a little bit in the savings account, and that's about it. Do you maybe help people come up with goals? If we weren't taught it, we don't even know we can dream it. We don't even know what we might be able to achieve.
Oh my gosh, Anna, that is the best part of what I do. I love helping people figure out what their vision is. We have to start with the end in mind. So everybody has a desire to stop working one day.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have a desire, you want to, just continue to be occupied. Everyone has a desire to make sure that they are okay in retirement.
Yes.
So if I'm working, work is optional. So yes, identifying ways to ensure that we are saving properly. Where do we save the money? And then how does that impact the future of our ability to retire? Mm-hmm. I think that's important to everybody.
Okay, where would you start with me? So what would you say?
So I would ask you, Anna, do you know how much you want to retire off of? How much income do you need to live off in retirement? And what age do you envision yourself making work optional?
Tomorrow. No, I don't know. And so what would you do? Help me figure out how much it takes to live a year? Or what would you do? How would you help me get there?
So first we would look at your budget. Mm-hmm. We want to identify currently what your expenses are. And so it's a multi-level approach to this, right?
Yeah.
I want to identify how much you operate off of on a monthly basis, and then understanding how much we need to save for your monthly expenses in the event that you can't work, if you become sick or injured, so that you can still continue moving forward. And then also identifying, how much you currently have saved. Do you have an employer that offers you a 401k? Can we maximize that avenue of approach first to start saving money? And then if that saving mechanism is not enough to get you to retirement, say you want to live off of $5,000 a month, my responsibility is to identify some actions that you can take to kind of fill in that gap. And so if you say, hey, Paris, I do want to live off of $5,000 a month, well, guess what? We also want to make sure we add Social Security. Like, how much can we generate from Social Security? So we may pull a statement, or we may do some estimations, and you may not have to save a full $5,000 just in retirement. But we can look at, multiple sources of what you have already and identify the actions to fill in the gap.
What kind of actions would we use to fill in the gap?
So you could participate in an individual retirement account. You could increase the percentage that you're contributing at work to a 401k. You could change how your investments are allocated. So maybe I'm a conservative investor. I'm not really familiar with the stock market, and my money is not growing as efficiently as it could. Well, we could sit down together and say, hey, maybe I can move to being a riskier investor, but the education comes first. So understanding what the stock market is, how that affects your day-to-day growth in your account, and then ensuring you understand that before we make adjustments to the money that you have growing already.
Because I found out kind of recently that there are some things that people can invest in. I think it's called treasury bills, T-bills or something like that pay more interest than savings accounts in banks. I didn't know about it. Like, all this time I didn't know about it. It was like 4 or 5 to 6% interest, and the bank is like 0.5% or something in my savings account. So all of this time I could have, with your help, Paris, have possibly had at least that kind of interest income.
Yeah, and there's so many different places where you can have the money. And so there's factors that determine where we make the recommendation. If you need to put money somewhere and that money is essentially locked away, like a CD for 18 months, but you're moving into a home within the next year, well, we can't necessarily make the recommendation for you to put it in that type of account. So that's why the goals and understanding your vision is really, really important, not just long term, right? I want to know where you want to be in retirement, but I also want to know what's coming up. What can we project and actually plan for so that it's not a last minute thing that puts a dent into your budget?
Yes. I think a lot of people don't have budgets. I think most of us probably don't have budgets. Could you give people an idea on where to start so we have something to bring to you when we want to get your advice?
Yes. So normally when I meet with someone who's interested in financial planning, I will send them the spreadsheet that I utilize with my clients. It's very, very popular because it auto-populates for the client. And so you have the ability to tailor it to your specific life. And so we want to put down to the details. If I have subscriptions, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, I don't want to put subscriptions in a category, right? I want to be very, very detailed so I know exactly where my money is going. And you can change the sheet month to month to reflect if you have a different thing that you have to pay for with your bills. We move month to month with that spreadsheet. So I would love to send that out to anybody who's interested. They just need to reach out to me, and then I can send it to them so that we can have a starting point.
And does it have to be somebody who's going to be a client of yours? Or you
Absolutely not.
So you
Absolutely not.
Will you send me one?
Of course.
I would like that.
Of course.
Because I struggle with it on my own. I just struggle with it. As much as I've tried to learn about it and I try to work on it, I have it kind of under control, but I would like to get in depth like that. And I just don't know how to make that happen. My brain doesn't work like that.
And you know what? That's not even an uncommon thing, Anna. There are so many people that have never learned to budget, but it is absolutely life-changing. If you can visually see where your money is going, now you can make strategic decisions on how to repurpose. So maybe, I'm not spending, or I don't think I'm spending as much in groceries or dining out, but I don't understand why I'm living paycheck to paycheck. But when we get down to the nitty-gritty, we look at bank accounts and we line item everything. the projected $400 is actually $1,000. And now when I know where that $600 is, I can be really, really purposeful in moving that to something that is working for me.
Whoa. Yeah. See, I felt like I did a big deal because we canceled Hulu a while back.
Yes.
Like, we hardly ever use it.
Right.
And so I've been like trying to keep working on that. But that's amazing. That is amazing to actually get it specifically line itemed so I know how much we're spending on everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that. And I think that's going to be, like you said, life-changing for a lot of people just to get started there. And then the things that they'll need to work on, and perhaps with you or someone like you, a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. If you're just joining us, by the way, we're talking with financial advisor Paris Jackson. She's an expert in business planning and financial strategies. And we're talking about the racial wealth gap and some of the barriers that non-whites have to investing, to saving, to getting credit. And how do you help them get past some of those barriers?
I think the primary thing is education, Anna. Education can reduce the amount of fear. And then having somebody who is, working with you because that's what they need to do for you, right? And so when I work with my clients, there's not always an opportunity to invest right away. There's not always an opportunity to provide a product like life insurance that's something that they need.
Yeah.
The most important thing to me is to ensure that we identify where our money is going. After we identify where our money is going and we have some savings being planned for, then we can do the other things. So it's not a overnight process. It's almost like building a house, right? When a builder builds a house, they do an outline for you, framework, everything. We know where everything is supposed to go. We know where the room is supposed to be located, but we got to put the framework and the foundation in first. And after that, then we get to the luxuries of the home.
Yeah.
What type of countertop do I want?
Yes.
That's we can equate that to invest in. And so we have to identify what the need is first.
How do we pay you? Yes, I know people are going to go, I don't think I can afford a financial advisor.
Yeah, so I get paid in people. And I know that may sound crazy, but the more people that are aware of what is available to them, the better off the community is of Nashville. When people can retire when they need to, when we can pass down generational legacy, that's what's most important. And so referring me out to somebody that may not have had the experience, somebody that needs to know something about budgeting, somebody that maybe needs to know how to invest, how to understand, do I have the right amount of life insurance? Providing that conduit to break the barrier of trust is the most important thing. Outside of that, we get paid for life insurance, long-term care, any type of insurance products, and investing.
So if you make me money, you help me make money, you get part of that.
Yes.
See, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. It's fair. If I'm going broke, then whoop, too bad, Paris. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that we need, but what to help have a full, complete financial picture and to move on into what did you call it? The multi-generational, wealth.
The financial house consists of the foundation. The foundation is your emergency fund. It's estate planning. Like, we work to make sure we connect our clients with people who may not necessarily work in tandem with us. Sometimes we do, but it's still beneficial for the building of that financial house. Do you have the appropriate documents in place, such as a will or a trust? Mm-hmm. Another component.
No. Most people, no.
Right, yeah. We're looking at debt. Like, how do we efficiently pay down debt and save the client the best amount of interest? The other side of the foundational home is going to be long-term care, life insurance, disability insurance, assessing what do you have with your employer. And if you are unable to work, is that money that the employer provide going to be enough to take care of you and your family? Mm-hmm. And then the top of the home is building wealth strategies. How do I make sure that I not only have enough money for retirement, but what if I want to send my kid to college? What if I want to, purchase a larger home or do an investment property? We want to look at investment strategies that help you near term and in the long term.
What would an investment strategy be? Is it giving us ideas of where to start or helping us put it in where it needs to go to start us?
Yeah, and so it's a phased approach. And so when we work with clients, it's not a one and done. We don't make a recommendation and then say, here you go, figure out the rest, right? It's a process where we identify what are the goals in the immediate future. In the military, we call it like a 25-meter or a 50-meter target. What is most important right now, and what do we need to do with the resources that we have to best meet that goal?
Yes.
In 2026, when I meet with you again, Anna, that may change, right? Because we may have a new goal or we may have more capacity to do new things. And so, yes, in the beginning, the goal is to start, but overall, we're going to make changes as we build our relationship because it is, a long-term relationship. We meet on an annual basis. And I want to meet with people like your family members, right? Because it does no good if I'm doing well financially, but the people around me are not, because that is going to impact my finances. And so when I say get paid in people, I mean, hey, let's talk about the people that are closest to you, the people that you really, really love. How can we make sure that everybody in the household is good to go?
You said one of the barriers was fear.
Yes. So some fear is generational. Some fear is, hey, I thought that my parents had a life insurance policy and when they passed away, we weren't able to bury them. And so without knowing the details of what that policy was or whether or not, the payments were maintained or what type of policy it was, that can create a barrier, because if I don't fully understand life insurance, then I think that my parents were not properly cared for, and there's a trust issue with the advisor.
Wow.
It could be, a fear of the stock market. Like, hey, I had all my money in this particular investment in 2008, and when the housing market crashed, there went all of my money. And not understanding, hey, the best place, the only loss in the stock market most of the time, and this is not a, for everybody's situation, is if you pull it out. That's the true loss. And so understanding, hey, let's work a plan for these investments. We work really, really well with our clients to understand how their mind thinks around the stock market, what are their fears, and then we take that and associate like a risk tolerance to that. And then we help them invest in the right things that may not be as risky, but can still provide adequate growth for them.
So if it seems like the bottom dropped out, to know that it goes back up.
It does. Yeah.
It goes back. Don't just like, I'm out. But because you'll be out when it goes back up.
Yeah.
And you would get your money back.
Yep.
That kind of thing. If I walk into a bank, it's intimidating.
Yes.
It's intimidating. Maybe I have a language barrier and I find somebody who can speak to me in my language, but then I don't know anything about what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to get, what I need.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about having what I consider one brave soul to find the right person that they trust, because that person can be your family's person, right? I don't know if you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy. The characters, Meredith and Christina, you're my person.
Yes.
And that's who I want to be. I want to be somebody that the family knows, because my biggest fear, Anna, is not the person that I'm sitting in front of. My biggest fear is the answer to the family members after that person is no longer here. My biggest fear is the answer to the person that I'm sitting in front of when we reach retirement and we haven't done everything that we needed to do. And so I take this work very, very seriously, because I need to be able to face everybody that's closest to you and be confident in the decisions that we made together, the recommendations that I made to you, and know that at the end of the day, the most important thing is that they are okay as a family.
Talking today with your person, Paris Jackson, a financial advisor and expert in business planning and financial strategies. And business planning, is that for businesses or is that us making plans for our business of our finances?
So business planning is particular to business owners.
Okay.
And so there are some things that business owners may not have that other people who work for an employer may have. So how do I invest as a business owner? If I do not have an employer-sponsored 401k, but I still have the same need as everybody else, I need to retire.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't understand how to do a succession plan. I'm not going to work forever. And whether I do or don't have family members to leave that business to, how do I sell it? What are the key things that I think about? How do I protect my employees as my business grows and give them the things that we know make it successful for us to retire? Can I, provide disability insurance to them? Can I provide life insurance as an employer or a business owner? How can I make sure that the people that work for me are absolutely taken care of while we're doing the business that we're doing?
A succession plan, is that kind of like a will for the business?
Essentially, yeah. It's identifying what things are going to take place. One, should somebody pass away, or two, when they get to the age of retirement, what's going to happen with the sale or the transfer of the business.
Yeah, we're going to Florida. Who's next?
Yeah, who's next?
Who have we trained and gotten prepared to do this and keep it successful.
Yes.
The multi-generational planning, what does that mean exactly? Is that talking about the person and their family members and the people around them, people in their lives, or is it their kids and their grandkids, things like that?
So mostly it's your immediate family. And so it can be like I have a lot of clients who work with making plans for their godchildren, right? So it may not necessarily be somebody who is blood, but whoever impacts your life on a large scale, then that's who we consider multi-generational planning. But if I'm working with a client who's 35, I want to make sure that mom and dad are okay, right? Because they're older, they're getting ready to retire, or they're already in retirement. There's things that maybe need to be addressed with them that could impact the 35-year-old's ability to work and run their own business because if mom or dad has a long-term care event, then if I'm the only child or if we haven't discussed these things, then who's going to stop working or reduce their hours? And does that impact my finances and my ability to run my household?
Right.
And so while also they're 35, you may or may not have a child who's getting ready to go to college. So how do we help prepare that child for the things that they need coming right out of the house? Providing education to the child. Hey, what is a credit card? The basic things. How do I make sure I take care of my credit score? For me, if we can make sure that everybody understands things that are appropriate for where they are in life, it helps the entire family maintain their finances.
Appropriate for where they are in life.
Yeah.
Because it changes.
It does.
And I understand the multi-generational part in that if you helps your client, if you're the person for someone, you help them make sure that their parents are going to be taken care of. That financial burden is not going to have to break them, and then they're broke, and then they don't have anything to help their kids get their start. So that can keep everybody in a certain spot where somebody is going to have to find a way to pick up and go.
Right.
Or if you make them successful and help them plan for their parents' long-term care so they can keep working, they can keep providing for the kids' college, for the child's education.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. What we've found, and I'll speak specifically about my practice, a lot of people have been taught, if I get a life insurance policy, let's do burial, because it's just enough to bury, but it's not enough to transfer the wealth that maybe some other communities have had the opportunity to receive. Mm-hmm. And so what happens if I receive a large sum of money from a life insurance policy? Why multi-generational is important is what do I do with that $100,000 or that $200,000 that allows me to make my future better, that allows me to open up some opportunities. So maybe I can now start a business. Maybe I can send my kids to college and have them come out of college without accumulating student loan debt.
Right.
What does this do for our ability to grow as a family?
Yeah.
And so I think, oftentimes things have not been left, whether it's property or money. And then conversations may have not been had on like logically thinking through what to do with that and understanding how important it is.
Right. I just got a big chunk of money. Woo!
Yeah.
Instead of now, I know because I've been taught that I should invest this, I should do this with it, and I should set this up because we just can't come up with that on our own. You just not born knowing that.
The only way we can get better is through that exposure, all right? And that's what I said, I work with mindset. All I need from a client is for them to want to be in a different place. And so we can have that relationship where we open everything up because that's the most effective way for me to help you. I can't, make plans off of things I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
And so it is vitally important for us to have the type of relationship where we can talk about how much debt you have. I don't care if it's $5,000 or $75,000. At some point, that 75 has to go. And so if you no longer want to be in the position that you're in, then we just have to open up and get over that fear.
Oh, that's beautiful. What did you say? All you need from a client is to
have the right mindset
and for them to want to be in a
different place.
Oh, I love that. If you're just joining us, I'm Anna Marie, and this is Focus, and we're talking with financial advisor Paris Jackson. Strategies for multi-generational wealth building, education funding. What about that?
Very, very complex, depending on the age of the child, the tax, benefits of where you're trying to put the money, where they're going to school, in state, out of state. And so that I definitely like to tailor to the individual conversations. But there's so much opportunity for kids. We try to teach, thinking about the child when they're born, when it's easier to save over a long period of time for whatever it is that they decide to do. Maybe they're going to college, maybe they're not. And there's so many different places where we can park money that allows it to pivot. So if my child gets a scholarship, now what do I do with the 529 that I've built? There are options. Well, if I, put everything in a savings account, it may not have grown the way I wanted it to grow, but at least they have some money. What can we do with this? Oh. And so sitting down and understanding, where that child is and putting parameters in place or things in place to help save. And then as we get closer to the transition, then we figure out what's the best course of action. But there's so many things that you can do with respect to education. And that's where I think a financial advisor really, really comes in hand.
So have you seen young people like you're that person, you're the person for someone? Have you seen their child grow up and go off into college and start their lives and on better footing now that they know more, because that young person knows more at this point, right?
Yes. And the beautiful thing about it is now the child or that young person says, well, that's my financial advisor, because you're associated with the parent and they trust you because they've been able to see the fruits of their parents' labor.
Yes.
And they get to say, okay, well, I've seen how this affected me. Let me do some things now. They get so excited. They want to start earlier, right? My favorite clients, no discrimination, my favorite clients are the 18, 19, 20-year-olds because you have such a long pathway to retirement. You have so much opportunity to make everything better. And again, I will work with anyone, but if there's a child that has a mindset to do better and make their family better generationally, I'm in.
I can tell it just lights you up.
I am in. I had a 10-year-old at a recent event walk up to me and say, hey, I want to be your client. I want to start investing because I have a business. And it was just so motivating because the things that we do as financial advisors absolutely matter. And as long as you are aligned with the right one, someone who cares about you, your well-being, your family, the finances are going to grow, but the relationship and the things that your family are able to do, the discussions you're now able to have around the dinner table changes your family forever.
Well, we're almost out of time. It's hard to believe because it's just flown by. Is there anything else that you feel is important to add that I've neglected to ask you about? Any just final thought?
I would just say if you are someone who has a question, I may not be the right advisor for you, but we can connect you to the right advisor. If you just want to start and say, hey, Paris, how do I start? Please reach out. We don't know what we don't know, and we only have one life to live, not one to practice with.
Sound like you named like 3 TV shows. I love it, though. Okay, so Paris, it would be the place to start. Paris Jackson, financial advisor, and one of the nicest people I've met in so long. Expert in business planning, financial strategies, education funding, retirement planning, strategies for multi-generational wealth building, and just for getting your crap together. She didn't say that. I said it. Thank you for joining us. I hope you find it helpful. We'll put some links on our Focus Facebook page. Make sure you join us again next week. I'm Anna Marie, and that's Focus.